tried to guess at which point she would have sleepily asked me to wrap it up. But it was more than longing that made me think of her as a thin layer of dust settled over me. It was the note I'd been handed. I'd know Annie's handwriting anywhere. "Can you move your legs?" The words came through my fog from a police officer kneeling beside me. I waved my hand to say, "I'm fine." I started to stand, and he helped guide me up by the elbow. "We need to get you out of this area." As my awareness returned, so did the sounds and colors and the chaos. Police and firefighters, the sound of radio chatter, helicopters. I was embedded in the evening news. The officer led me toward an area apparently being set up for the wounded. Was I hurt worse than I thought? "Mystic River," the police officer said. I looked at him with confusion. "Good book," he added. "But you really should invest in the hardback. It's a sign of a fully committed person." I looked down and saw I still had the novel I'd been reading in the café. My white knuckles told me I'd been clutching it like a life preserver. The note. Where was it? I fished in my pockets but came up empty. I turned around and headed back to where I'd been lifted off the ground. "Hold on, partner. We can't have you going back there. Too dangerous." "I lost someone," I said. "You lost someone?" "Something. I lost something. Please." "Well, you're not going back to get it now." With a powerful hand on my shoulder, he turned me around, walked me down the block to a concrete patch, cordoned off by yellow tape, and set me on the ground with the others. The cop's name was Danny Weller, and he was a chatterer. He told me about growing up in Oakland and learning to fish in waders in the Sacramento River with his father. His dad, he said, was a fierce wordsmith, the outer casing of a Union man covering a dictionary. Danny stayed nearby, my personal caseworker. He kept my state of mind numb, but his friendly rambling didn't slow the background din of questions. Who would do such a thing? Did someone try to save my life? Was that person connected to Annie? And what had happened to everyone else in the café? How many hurt? How many dead? Those questions I asked aloud. "We have 3 fatalities and a couple people in critical," Danny said. "Not as miraculous as it first appeared." "What do you mean?" I looked at a half-dozen people sitting on the street around me, nursing various wounds. Each was attended by police and emergency medical personnel. The idea that anyone survived seemed miraculous. "The explosion was confined to one area of the café. It's not as bad as we first thought," Danny said. "At this point, we don't know if it was intentional or an industrial accident." "You mean it might not have been a bomb?" "What makes you think it was a bomb?" Danny looked at me intently, with curiosity, but not accusation. I took him in for the first time. I noticed hair and gut. He had a lot of both. I figured him at around 45 years old. Worn, blue-collar hands, no wedding ring, but that didn't mean anything anymore. He had soft, droopy eyes that reminded me somehow of the black and chocolate brown-colored glass polar bear eyes from the taxidermist's office where I interned the summer before my senior year in college. Before I could get out an answer to Danny's question, a paramedic knelt beside me. "He seems okay," Danny said. "He was outside when it happened." "Let's have a look," the paramedic said, tilting my chin up so I could look him in the eye. "I'm going to ask you some basic questions. Indulge me. What's your name?" "Nathaniel Idle." "Nat Idle," Danny the cop said. I told him my first name earlier, but not my last. The paramedic and I turned our heads to look. Danny turned his eyes to the side, the way a bad poker player fails to mask emotion, and I can't say I was surprised. A year earlier, when I was researching an article about the HIV epidemic faced by the city's immigrant prostitution rings, I'd come across a disturbing tip. Several officers assigned to crack down on the residential brothels were sampling the fare rather than bringing the violators to justice. One of the cops, upon learning he might have contracted HIV himself, beat a 20-year-old Malaysian prostitute with the battle axe.